Welcome to the Drexel interview. I'm your host, Paula Morantz-Cohen, and today our guest is the award-winning playwright and screenwriter, Bruce Graham. Bruce also happens to be a professor at Drexel University, where he teaches courses in film and theater. Bruce Graham, it's great to have you at the Drexel interview.
Thank you. I never knew this room existed, so I'm learning something here.
Yeah, it's a great room. Yeah. We're very pleased to have it. I'm struck by your range as a writer. You've written serious drama, heartwarming family drama, very light comedy, including farce. You write for the stage, movies, television. Are you easily bored? How do you account for
You stole my punchline, short attention span, yeah. I'm very shallow, actually.
You're shallow. No, I don't think you're shallow. No. Some of your plays are quite deep. How do you account for your range?
I'm self-taught. I had one playwriting course in graduate school, but by that point, I had already had 2 plays off Broadway and a couple published, so it was kind of a joke, and I never went to it anyway, but I thought if I was going to teach it, I should have it on the resume. And so when you're self-taught, I mean, I would say, all right, this is going to be my Neil Simon play. And I would study Neil Simon. This is going to be my John Guare play. This is my Robert Anderson, Tennessee Williams play. So I was kind of teaching myself to write in different genres because I was imitating. When I was an actor, I would imitate people. I would look around and how someone walked, talked, dressed, that sort of thing. So I did the same thing as a writer. And Walter Matthau, I think it was, said, you steal from everybody till you develop a style of your own. And about 5, 6 plays into my career, I went, I don't know who I'm stealing from here. So
maybe, that was you.
Yeah, maybe I'm finally developing a style of my own.
That's fascinating.
But I do get bored. I don't want to write the same play all the time.
So that's part of the impetus of the difference in genre. But it's interesting that you started as an actor, which is unusual, I think, and moved into playwriting.
I got out of college and went to New York, and when you're 22, short, bald, can't sing, and unphotogenic, you're not going to get a lot of work, I found out, no matter how good or bad you might be.
Fred Astaire said that about himself.
Well, no, they said about that about him. Yeah, Ken dance, but he could dance. So I wasn't going to get any work on soap operas and stuff, so I'd been writing a lot through high school and college, and I said, all right, I'm going to go write parts for 22-year-old short, bald guys. And I did, and then they always cast a tall guy with hair, but, so I should have underlined that scene direction, I guess, But that's why. I mean, I got fed up with, and also you become the product, and you have to let it roll off your back when you get rejected, and I couldn't.
One of your more farcical works was the screenplay for the movie Dunston Checks In. I see you laugh. It's about an orangutan jewel thief, and it was made into a 1995 film with Faye Dunaway and Jason Alexander. What motivated you to write this screenplay?
Actually, I rewrote it. Someone else wrote it, and in order to get credit, you have to go to arbitration, and you have to change X amount of things. And the great part was they hired me for 4 weeks to make it for a star. It was supposed to be Kelsey Grammer, and then it was going to be Adrian, whatever his name, tall, good-looking guy. And then it was Jason Alexander, so I kept rewriting it. I stayed on the picture for 6 months and was on the set because you just don't write something for an orangutan. You have to run it by the trainers first.
Okay.
And because I have a scene where he eats something and offers it to the kid. An orangutan's not going to share food. We could sit there with it. It's not going to do it. So I rewrote it. And it was a lot of fun. It's the movie I'm most proud of at this point in my career because it's a kid's movie.
It was fun.
My kid was small at the time, and I was sitting through all these movies saying, please throw me a bone. Throw the parents a bone. And when I saw it with the screening, there were like 5 or 6 instances where all the adults laughed and the jokes went right over the kid's head. And I said, fine, that's good. That's what I wanted. They were for me. So I had a blast. Sam, the orangutan, has some of the best table manners of any actor I've ever worked with. And cleanliness too.
And how was it working with Faye Dunaway and Jason Alexander too?
Jason Alexander tried to rewrite the script and did his version, and I'm sitting there like this, and the director's going, "This is really good, Jason. Can I take this with me?" And he looked at me after that and says, "Anything you can use?" I said, "The quarantine line's not bad." I put that in there. The next day he kept saying, "Oh, thanks." He was thrilled that
he just wanted a little something.
All actors want that. Faye Dunaway, on the other hand, takes what you have, and if there's a semicolon in there, she'll try and act it. I mean, it was a stupid little kids movie, and she had gone out and interviewed Ivana Trump and we've done research on Lorena Helmsley or whatever her name was.
So she's a true professional, as they say.
I mean, and everybody was scared, because she's going to get, land in a cake at the end of this thing, I was there that day too. That was kind of fun.
Oh, that's nice to know that she's that way.
She's definitely high tension.
Liked her as an actress.
Yeah, I mean, she does it the way you write it, which is more than I can say for a lot of them.
Well, I guess a contrast to that film is the film you wrote based on the Abby Hoffman book, Steal This Book. It was Steal This Movie, starring Abby Hoffman. Could you tell us a little bit about doing that?
That was Steal This Movie. Yeah, that was one of those labors of love that turned into a real labor of hate.
Really?
I even took a pay cut to do it, and it's what happens when the director's too close to the subject, and wants to deify him. Abby Hoffman was a funny guy.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the director, who also did that fine film Xanadu, Olivia Newton-John's Kiss of Death, and hires Vincent D'Onofrio, who's a good actor, but he's not funny. And the stuff I had there, I was teaching a class on it in Chicago when the movie opened at the University of Chicago, and the students had all read the script, and I said, all right, read that scene. Now we're going to show you how the director ruined it. And I put it up and said, this is why it's not funny. Okay, you have to focus on the joke. You can't have a million other things going on.
There was too much going on.
Yeah, it was one of the biggest disappointments of my life, is because I thought the screenplay was something that was really special, and they brought in another writer because I refused to work on it anymore, who changed about 10% of it, and then wanted co-credit. And I wish the Writers Guild would come up with, written by Bruce Graham, screwed up by somebody else. I'm sure they say that about when I rewrite them.
Right, I see. Well, what was Abby Hoffman like, and what did he think about the whole process?
He's been dead for years.
Oh, well, I thought he wrote the book, but he wasn't.
Oh, no, the book was written back in the 60s.
It wasn't based on the book?
Oh, no, we just kind of used the title. Steal This Book was just a bunch of scams. I read it when I was a kid. It's like how to rip off a phone company, how to rip off airlines,
I, for some reason, thought that he was somehow involved.
No, he died in Bucks County a few years ago.
In Bucks County?
Yeah, in Bucks County.
Okay.
I was nowhere near there.
I stand corrected.
Okay, no problem.
Tell me about the difference then between writing for the theater and writing for movies. I mean, and also television for that matter. You've done that as well.
The big difference is money.
You make the most money for movies then?
Yes. Yeah, nobody gets rich in the theater. It's
and TV, I guess, unless you're syndicated.
Yeah, in that respect. But in theater, I have power. They can't change a line, a word, without my permission.
Is that true?
Yes, it's in my contract. And now I'm not, going to stand there and, 9 times out of 10, if the actor's uncomfortable, he's going to look uncomfortable. And a lot of times they're uncomfortable for a reason. Sometimes the line doesn't work. And you go back and you fix it, and I'm fine, with that. That's no problem.
Is that basic to theater? I mean, or is it you and your contract? I mean, I was under the impression that actors could make adjustments.
That's once it opens and the writer goes away.
I guess once they're on stage, they can.
Then you wait backstage for them. But no, that's standard dramatist guild clause. And I have. Consultation, they call it, on casting and designers and all that sort of stuff. Wherein now when Dunston checks in, I was part of the casting. On the Ira Einhorn movie, I was part of the casting. And I had producers who listened to me, which is
But that's cool. Not common for a screenwriter.
Well, not for me. I'm from Philly, what do I know?
But you got that for those movies. I mean,
it's because I was working with producers that wasn't in the contract. That was strictly producer who knows me says, look at these tapes, what do you think of this guy, what do you think of her, and knows I know something about acting and stuff. So that was strictly, a two-shotter. Other than that, they cast, they shoot it, you get invited to the opening. You don't know what's going to be out there.
Yeah, that must be scary.
It is.
Yeah. You actually, I guess, started your career, or at some point before you were doing playwriting, you were doing stand-up.
Right.
And could you tell us about how that maybe fed into your writing comedy.
Yeah.
But how did you feel doing stand-up? I mean, that must be such a, I think of it as really a frightening kind of activity.
It prepared me for my brief career as a substitute teacher very well.
Which was scarier, stand-up or substitute teacher?
Actually, because they could wait for you in the parking lot with the comedy. It was when I was 16, I was sneaking out at night and playing some open mics here in Philly. There was a bar here called the Library. I tell my parents I was going to the library. Well, they wonder why I came home smelling like smoke and everything, but I was at the library. And a place called Grandma Minnie's, and I would get up there, in the open mic stuff. In college, I hooked up with a guy named Billy Elmer, who's still a pro and does the circuit. And it was great training as a writer because, you know, first of all, comedy, you're going to get that reaction, or you're not going to get that reaction. So you learn what buttons to push on the audience, you know, what works, what doesn't. And it's the rewriting. We would do a 9 o'clock show with a new sketch that didn't work, and at 12 o'clock, I mean, for the 12 o'clock show, we'd be on the corner of Forbes Avenue in Pittsburgh, and I'd be rewriting it. So it was my training as a writer and a performer, you know, what works, what doesn't, what can you get away with. I hated it. I made some nice money in college for the 70s, but... You always hated it? I sort of did, yeah. It was fun in the beginning and playing little coffee houses, you know, great way to meet girls. But when it became professional, and I don't let it roll off my back. If I would like challenge the audience if I didn't think they laughed loud enough, you know. You don't do that, that's unprofessional. And when I go see my old partner down at the Tropicana occasionally, he makes me sit in the back. He doesn't want me in the eye line. And I start to get this rush of deja vu, like, I want to get out of here, this is creepy. You know, I just don't like it. Because you want the audience to react in a certain way. Absolutely, yeah, it's kind of like this little cosmic Geppetto here. I want to ask you, I want to relate that to teaching, because I can relate that to how I feel sometimes as a teacher, and I think it's not good when I want the students to react in a certain way. Do you find the same thing when you teach? Oh, absolutely. But now I can grade them. I can put it to them. That makes them react the way you want them to. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, now I get buttons to push. That audience, I'm never going to see them again, hopefully. And they've got things to throw. Well, you've written a play, according to Goldman, that deals with the teacher-student relationship, a kind of cutthroat relationship between a student and teacher. Now, is that something derived from your own experience, either as teacher and as student? No, absolutely not. Weirdly enough, the play started out, it's about a screenwriter who comes back to his hometown or something, who's bombed out his career and you know now makes a living as a college professor and desperately wants to get back into the business. I can't wait to get out of the business in a couple of years and teach full-time maybe. So in that respect, very opposite. But the play started out with a guy, totally different. The guy was a political lawyer, sort of, you know, connected guy. And I went, see, I got to research that. You know, I don't have to research being a screenwriter, and I've got all these jokes, you know, and I'm a college professor. So the play to me was really about a marriage, and the student thing was kind of the engine of the play. You need an engine to, you know, it's like when I play Burkie, where they say, oh, it's about cancer. No, it's not about cancer, all right, you know, that sort of thing. That's the engine to drive. Sort of the MacGuffin in Hitchcockian Well, yeah, the MacGuffin, everybody knows what it is. And where to find it. So yeah, that's kind of how that went. Oh, okay. So you don't draw that much on your own personal experience? Constantly. I mean, I'm thinking of plays like Burkie and Moon Over the Brewery that deal with family relationships, both in terms of the closeness and also the oppressiveness of family. Do you think that is drawn in any way? Oh, definitely. There's always been the part I wrote for myself in all these. And Goldman, in fact, I had to do Goldman. I had to go on one day when our lead had a bad throat. And I based a lot of it on my wife in Goldman. So autobiographically, yeah. The thrust of the story with the student, no, that was totally made up. Made up, yeah. Yeah, the jokes were, definitely out of my life. I guess you also wanted a vehicle for these great teacher-student jokes. Oh, absolutely. You know? Yeah, no, the lectures, that he does about movies. Those lectures are right out of my lectures. They're easy to, I could have, like I said, done a mini-series about something like that. Yeah. Yeah, that was a breeze. Your play, Coyote on a Fence, it's a really extraordinary play, I have to say. I mean, I was very taken with it. It was nominated for 2 Drama Desk Awards and won the prestigious Rosenthal Prize. It deals with 2 men on death row and the different sort of, I guess, delusions they live with. Yeah. Can you talk about why you wrote this play? Did you do research for it? What's behind it? An article in the Philadelphia Inquirer. Really? About a guy in Huntsville, Texas, named James Beathard, who ran a death row newspaper. And I was not into any message. I'm not, whether pro or anti, whatever. There was a little germ of an idea in there about he has to write obituaries. Yeah. And tries to find something positive to say about people we consider monsters, and who are monsters lots of times. Yeah. And I went, wow, what a great dramatic situation. Absolutely. I had just spent I hadn't written a play in like 4 years. Wanted to write something, because movies hate dialogue. They hate dialogue. And I wanted to write something with people just were in a confined space who had to talk to each other. Right. Bang, that was good. I wrote a letter to James, thinking, oh, he'll be thrilled. I got back a very aloof, very wary letter, which I used that in the play with the writer Sam Freed. about, what do you want, Mr. Graham, da 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 da, and it took me sending him some of my published plays,